My name is Morgan Myers. I'm 32 years old. For the past 4 years, I sent my parents $2,000 every single month. That adds up to $96,000. Yes, I counted every dollar. And on my wedding day, the one day in 32 years when I asked them to show up for me, neither of them came. I called my mother from the parking lot while still wearing my wedding dress. She answered on the fourth ring. The 3 words she said ended our relationship completely. But what happened 30 minutes later, when my father checked his bank account and realized what I had done? That was the moment he truly lost control. Before I tell you the rest, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly connects with you. Leave your location and local time in the comments too. I always love hearing where people are watching from. Now let me take you back to the summer of 2021, when my father came home from work for the last time. I grew up in Scarborough, Maine, just south of Portland, in one of those neighborhoods where every lawn was perfectly trimmed and nobody talked about money unless it belonged to someone else. There were 2 daughters in our family, me and my younger sister Jolene. 4 years apart. Same parents. Same house. Completely different expectations. I was the straight A kid. Scholarship student. Pre-med. Then medical school. After I turned 18, I never asked my parents for money again. Not for tuition. Not for rent. Not for groceries. During college, I worked 3 jobs. Tutoring. Weekend shifts at a nursing home. Working at the campus bookstore. Nobody forced me to do it. I simply understood what was expected from me. Jolene was different. She dropped out of community college twice. Then she had found herself through a 200-hour yoga certification program my parents paid $8,000 for. At 24, she married Brett Tate, a car salesman with perfect hair and a leased BMW. Their wedding was small, held at a seafood restaurant in Portland. My parents paid for the flowers, the dress, and even helped cover the honeymoon. When I once asked why I never received anything remotely similar, my mother Patrice looked at me as if I had asked her to explain the laws of physics. Jolene is sensitive, she said. She needs us more. My father, Gene, nodded from his recliner. He always nodded when Patrice spoke. In 30 years of marriage, I never once saw him disagree with her in front of us. At the time, I didn't resent Jolene. I honestly believed that was how families worked. The strong child carries the weaker one. What I didn't realize was that I was being conditioned. Then June 2021 happened. My father lost his job at Portland Precision Manufacturing after 30 years as a floor supervisor. The company downsized and eliminated his department. He was 57 years old with no college degree and a retirement account that could barely survive a year. At the time, I was 28 and in my first year of emergency medicine residency at Maine Medical Center. My salary was $62,000 a year before taxes. After deductions, insurance, and student loan payments, I took home around $3,800 a month. One Tuesday night my mother called crying. "Morgan, we can't make the mortgage. Your father won't even get out of bed." At 2 in the morning, sitting in the hospital break room, I did the math on a napkin. If I sent them $2,000 a month, I could still survive on the remaining $1,800. Barely. That same night I set up the automatic transfer. My phone buzzed with the confirmation. $2,000 transferred to Myers' joint savings account ending in 4471. I ate a granola bar and went back to the ER. That weekend, I started a spreadsheet. Month 1. $2,000. Running total, $2,000. I told myself it was temporary. Dad would find another job. 6 months. Maybe a year. Then the transfers would stop and I could focus on paying down my $280,000 in medical school debt that was collecting interest while I survived on hospital cafeteria food. Temporary. That word stayed in my head for 4 straight years. 4 years and $96,000. The transfers never stopped. I worked 80-hour weeks in emergency medicine while living in a tiny 400-square-foot studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and a microwave I bought second-hand at Goodwill. Most of my meals came from the hospital cafeteria. Cheap salads. Day-old sandwiches. Whatever was left after midnight shift started. Meanwhile, my parents weren't living like people in financial crisis. When I visited home for Christmas in 2021, they had brand new hardwood floors, upgraded kitchen appliances, a French door refrigerator, and a remodeled bathroom. My mother proudly gave me a house tour like she was starring in a renovation show. "We found a contractor through Facebook," she said. "Such a good deal." I asked how they could afford it. She waved her hand casually. "Your father handled it." My father. The unemployed one. The same man who refused warehouse jobs because they were beneath him. The same man who rejected a Home Depot position because he didn't want to wear an apron. Nobody asked how residency was going. Nobody asked if I was sleeping enough, eating enough, or holding myself together. Nobody thanked me. At Christmas dinner, Jolene pulled up in a brand new Honda CR-V with temporary dealer plate still attached. My mother practically glowed. "Doesn't she look beautiful in that car?" I looked at the car. Then at my mother. "Who paid for it?" Nobody answered. I drove back to my apartment afterward in my 2014 Honda Civic with over 211,000 miles on it. The second year was harder. Not because of the work. I could handle the chaos of the ER. Heart attacks at dawn. Broken bones by lunch. Overdoses after midnight. I knew how to treat a body in crisis. What I didn't know how to handle was watching my own family use my money to celebrate someone else while pretending I barely existed. Spring 2022, Jolene had a pregnancy scare. False alarm. My mother drove 2 hours to comfort her. She brought flowers, soup, and a stuffed animal. That same week, I ended up hospitalized for dehydration after a 14-hour shift. I called my mother while hooked up to N4. "Oh honey," she said casually, "you just need to drink more water. I can't come up this week. Jolene needs me." Jolene's tests had already come back negative 3 days earlier. Later that year, Jolene had her real wedding. My parents paid for the flowers, her dress, and contributed to a Cancun honeymoon. I didn't ask how much it cost. The answer was somewhere in my spreadsheet. By then the running total had already passed $36,000. I attended the wedding. Smiled in pictures. Gave a toast. Then afterward I sat alone in my car in the parking lot with the engine off. Because during family photos, my mother had told the photographer, "Let's do one with just the family." I was standing 6 feet away. The 4 of them smiled for the camera while I stood outside the frame. By spring 2023, my student loan balance still sat at $274,000. At the current pace, I'd be paying it off until my 40s. So I finally tried to talk to my mother about reducing the monthly transfers from $2,000 to $1,500. Still generous. Still nearly 30% of my take-home pay. But before I could even finish explaining, she cut me off. "After everything we sacrificed for you?" There it was. Her favorite weapon. "We fed you. We clothed you. We drove you everywhere. And now you want to put a price on gratitude?" So I backed down. The transfer stayed at $2,000. 3 days later, I opened Instagram and saw my mother posting lobster dinners from Cape Cod with captions like, "Blessed life. Grateful heart. Blessed. With my money paying for the lobster." That same summer, I met Garrett Holt. He was an electrician whose company had been hired to rewire part of the hospital. Steel-toed boots. Toolbox in hand. Drove an old Ford pickup with a dent in the tailgate. We met in the cafeteria. He brought homemade lunch from home while I sat there eating another wilted Caesar salad. "You eat that every day?" he asked. "Most days." He slid half his sandwich across the table. "My mom made extra." That's how it started. Coffee after shifts. Texts during long nights. Quiet conversations in parking lots. Garrett was steady in a way I had forgotten people could be. No performance. No manipulation. No hidden agenda. 3 months later, I finally told him about the $2,000 transfers. We were sitting in his truck with the heater running. I explained everything quickly, like ripping off a bandage. He sat quietly for a long moment doing the math in his head. "Morgan," he finally said softly, "that's almost a third of your salary. They need it." He looked at me carefully. "Do they?" Nobody had ever asked me that before. And suddenly the ground shifted underneath everything I thought was normal.